Oh, wait for it. Oh, wait for it. This is the best part. Where's the dramatic movie announcer guy?
Resident Evil 4.
They kept in the bingo line, but they got rid of the title guy?
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
I didn't want to talk about this game. But then I played it, and whoa, how do you not talk about something this good? It's easily the best horror game I've ever played. I keep doing these best ever videos. What am I gonna do when I run out? Best fart I've ever farted? Anyways, it is better than the original in every possible facet. While something like Shadow of the Colossus Remake was entirely faithful to the original in basically all possible ways, Resident Evil 4 Remake is truly a new game made with the original's DNA. Both the thrills and the chills are far and away superior. The original was made in 2005 for the GameCube. Yes, you're hearing that correct. Resident Evil 4 was originally a GameCube game. I remember when it came out, Nintendo Power had been reviewing things like Winnie the Pooh's Rumbly Tumbly Adventure with middling scores from their panel of reviewers. Then Resident Evil 4 came out, and all of them were losing their collective minds about how good it was. I thought, in my little baby boy brain, that looks freaky. Then 2 years later, I was on the Wii train to Poop Your Pants station because I got myself a copy of Resident Evil 4 for the TV remote simulator. It was astounding. Even 2 years after its original release, it was still astounding. Then it got ported to everything imaginable, even iPhone. What the heck is a Zebo? And this is when it became a meme. All toasters and washing machines came pre-installed with both Skyrim and Resident Evil 4 for the next 8 years. So then you started to think, was it ever really that good? The answer is yes, it flipping was. But it was easy to forget because of how ruthlessly they were desecrating its memory. So after Resident Evil 2 got a remake that sold a bajillion copies, everyone knew what was coming next. Resident Evil 3 remake. Yeah, sure. But it was Resident Evil 4. That's what we knew was coming. Resident Evil 2 remake sold 4 million copies in a single month. Resident Evil 4 remake sold that in its first 2 weeks. Resident Evil 2 remake now sits at a wild 11 million copies sold after 4 years. I'm curious what Resident Evil 4 will look like in that time. Regardless, it was basically a guaranteed cash cow. And that made me strongly suspect that they were gonna phone it in. That the passion was gonna be absent. That the quality was going to be substandard. Kind of like how it was in Resident Evil 3 remake. They blew the socks off of people with 2, then nicely and neatly placed those socks back on those baby feet with 3. Neither of which I played. But Resident Evil 4 remake? They used a nuclear bomb on my socks. Which makes it feel a little strange when I see videos like this one from the Kroby Cat himself. Usually I think his takes are some banger takes. This one is frankly ridiculous. I get being salty about how they keep remaking games, but the game is flipping good. It's not just good, it's frankly amazing. Or a similar take from this man, the Electric Underground.
The idea that it is somehow an improvement upon the original Resident Evil 4 is laughably absurd, in my opinion. I think when it comes to art direction, the original is miles better than the remake. And honestly, I think the remake's visual presentation is pretty lame and generic. They ripped out the entire core gameplay system and then shoved in this crappy generic gameplay system and then had the audacity to be like, we remade it. This is not a legitimate artistic effort.
What does that even mean? The game is beautiful to look at. The game is extremely entertaining to play. How is it not a real artistic expression? Because it's a remake? That is wholly and entirely irrelevant to the conversation. Is it good or not? That's it. Anything else is nostalgia points, which are meaningless.
Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Because if this was a legitimate artistic effort, Resident Evil 6 would be like the first game they'd remake.
Resident Evil 6 would be the artistic choice to remake because it was bad? This is totally baffling to listen to.
Other than weapon swapping on the D-pad, I cannot think of a single improvement this game has over the original.
This is just simply nostalgia brain. This is simply nostalgia brain taking over. I honestly don't think this is in any way attempting to be objective. I need to not dwell on this. This was freaking me out watching this. This is like the people who were dwelling on my Elden Ring takes.
Watched the first 15 seconds, paused, downloaded, dipped.
The biggest difference being that I was balanced. I talked about the good and the bad. This man is just, there is no objectivity. There's no objectivity here. Absolutely zero. Breathe. Breathe. Just breathe. He can have that take. He articulates it well, and it was an interesting video. I watched the whole thing because I wanted to understand the perspective. I was not even slightly persuaded, but I did get a chance to understand his thoughts better. I didn't get hurt by listening to something I disagreed with, which I understand to the modern activist brain is utter and complete heresy. But oh my crap, is he absolutely wrong as heck. Let's get into what makes Resident Evil 4 Remake so absolutely excellent. First, I've got a question. Is graphical fidelity and realism important to a video game's expression? Not necessarily. Risk of Rain 2 has some of the most dooky graphics you could possibly imagine. But it gets away with it for multiple reasons. The gameplay is fun, the gameplay loop is excellent, and with how stupid the screen gets with enemies on it, it would turn your PC or non-PC electronic box of choice into a molasses machine if it didn't have these low poly goobas for enemies. It's good despite its presentation. Resident Evil 4 Remake is good because of its presentation. This game lives and breathes on its presentation and atmosphere. And the atmosphere is unquestionably heightened by the graphical choices and fidelity. Even the throwaway areas are meticulous. Risk of Rain 2 might not need graphics, but this game sure does. A huge part of this game is just walking down hallways. And it works because the hallways are good. The character is good. The animation is good. It all feeds into the presentation. The vibe, as it were. Beauty and horror. Elegance and filth. The graphical presentation is absolutely top tier. Smoky castle floors to wet and soggy villages. Purple sunsets, green tinted water. Awesome choices from the artists. Truly an incredible looking video game. Look at how great this lighting is. Look at how great this lighting is. Doo-da, doo-da. Look at how great this lighting is. What the holy crap. That was my little song about the lighting being good. But it's not just the graphics that create the presentation. The way Leon stumbles around when he's hurt is incredibly cinematic. It ties into the intentional way he moves. Each step is uninterruptible. You don't animation cancel your steps. If he's in the middle of stepping, he completes it before you can change directions. Things like the true darkness where you need your flashlight, the wet insect carapaces, and their bizarre and disconcerting movements. The moments of Ashley crying out as you're about to die. The extremely tight over-the-shoulder camera, a masterful symphony that is the presentation. Resident Evil 4 Remake is an interesting mix of horror and action, but much more considerate of the horror than the first one was. The original was absolutely corny. It was more corny than Kansas.
I let our miserable insects out for some exercise down in the sewer.
Thanks. That should keep me company, 'cause boredom kills me.
You want some cob to put all that corn on?
Just because you killed my small-time subordinate.
Sadler, you're small time.
I need some nachos, because this is a copious amount of cheese.
Rain or shine, you're going down.
Don't get me wrong, the remake retained more cheese on the cob than I would personally prefer.
Nighty-night. Nights.
No! No!
But it's a 99-day difference from how the original is.
No!
It lets the horror be horrifying, but it still keeps the corn. Why so much corn? Is that just a horror thing? I don't actually watch horror movies because they make me feel like garbage. Hey Gail, is schlock just a horror thing?
Oh yeah, there's a ton of schlocky horror, don't you know?
Ah, I see. Still frustrating when I'm having a great dramatic horror moment, then Leon ruins it by being a snark machine.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
But let's talk about the horror for a second. Like I said, I don't do horror shows or movies, but for whatever reason, I think horror video games are sweet as heck. I think the main difference being that I am fighting the horror and get to destroy it. I'm a huge Dead Space fan and a big Resident Evil 4 fan, not any of the other ones really, but I did have a crack-up time playing 5 with my brother. I also was a huge fan of The Evil Within 2, which was made by the Resident Evil 4 guy. Well, indirectly. Evil Within 1 was directed by Shinji Mikami, but Evil Within 2 was directed by John Johannes. And Mikami was consulting, plus it's his development studio that he started. So, anyways, lots of Resident Evil 4 DNA in The Evil Within 2. Plus, random tangent tango gent. One of my favorite games this year was Hi-Fi Rush, which was also directed by John Johannes, which, you know, pretty funny. Evil Within 2, Hi-Fi Rush, pretty big difference in tone there. End of side note. And don't get me started on how sweet Alan Wake is. Horror games I have zero interest in would be things like Alien Isolation or Outlast. Probably great horror, but that's not what I want in a horror game. I don't want to feel powerless. I want to feel intimidated, then get the chance to overcome. And when they do it right in Resident Evil 4 Remake, it's quite intimidating. This moment, when they're about to introduce a new enemy type, you crouch to fit through this tunnel, and for just a brief moment you see green eyes moving past in the distance. When you come out of the tunnel, there is a single light source that pulls your attention. If you hadn't seen those green eyes, you'd probably be walking while looking at that light source. But what about those green eyes? Not knowing what it is or where it is, but knowing it's still there and it's coming for you. When you're shooting at it, it almost feels like it's not real, like you're just shooting at the ground. Then when you're climbing a broken wall, you see more of them down in the water. You get to the top of the wall and there's only one way forward, back into their domain. I was so impressed by this intro. Immediately after this, it takes it up a notch even further. Something is in the ceiling. it's just a hallway and sound design, but the tension is incredible. The introduction to those bugs is almost entirely visual cues. The introduction to this new threat is almost entirely audio cues. Such incredible horror tension. Then the payoff when it appears and it just starts running at you. Amazing.
You're Ramon's lapdog.
But then the corn returns.
Frozen's a good look for you.
Leon, could you just shut the heck up and let this be a good horror moment? Holy crap, Leon. Let's just take a second. But the horror is far superior and outweighs completely the corn. The introduction to the Plaga is absolutely incredible with atmosphere. Then once again, when you see the next type of Plaga, which I like to call the munch, munch, crunch, crunch cockroach snake. Yeah, still workshopping that. The art, the animation, the music, the sound design, and the gameplay, it all comes together to give these moments of high tension and high stakes. When Leon gets captured, you have a section where you play as Ashley. Ashley doesn't have any weapons and can't fight because she's literally just a normal person in this world of monsters. You see these suits of armor covered up, and you know from earlier that they can house horrifying nightmare entities that pilot them like mech suits. So every time you see one, you wonder, when? Then the reveal is simply with sound.
Jeez.
You look out into the darkness and you can't see them, but you can hear them. Then you get a brief glimpse of one walking past. Great setup.
No way.
They chase you and all you have is light to protect you. But to progress, you have to leave the light behind. What a strong moment! Look at that framing of the scene. She's climbing through these suits of armor that are frozen in the light, just to see in the darkness ahead of her another one waiting directly in front of the elevator she needs to escape. Incredible scene! The Garador intro is another perfect example. Let's look at it in the original. Okay, that's some kind of... It just zoomed up. Just a quick zoom. That's a kind of a spoopy looking guy. Now look at it in the remake. It doesn't react to the flashlight.
Can't see me.
But as soon as he says something, then it starts thrashing around. Just absolutely worlds away better on the presentation. But honestly, my current favorite horror moment in any video game is the Regenerator. Holy crap! Holy crap, it is crazy! Once again, they use the intense sound of the thing to get your hackles up. Then you read files about something that regenerates. You see grotesque x-rays. It's all building blocks to hit a great moment. You turn around and... can't fight it. It just regenerates. All you can do is shoot it to delay it, then run. And what a surprise it is when you think you're at a safe distance and its flabby arms extend like snakes. Look at how this thing moves. It's so disconcerting. The way it gets through this window, it just falls over it like a corpse. When you shoot up its legs, it slithers like a snake. The regeneration animations, as these fibers explode out of its severed appendages and reform muscle and tissue. The fact that it's still aggressing you without arms or most of its head. The grotesque, bulbous pulsing as it regenerates. Even tiny little details that you're liable to miss, like it's too tall to go through a doorway, but it has no sense of self-preservation, so it just hits its head and flops it weakly as it bashes into the doorframe. All of it masterful details to make this thing even more bizarre and incomprehensible and terrifying. Oh crap, these things are such great monster design. Oh, what wonderful D&D inspiration, Nate. Expect to see more of this soon. And everything good about them from the original is times 10 in the remake. Let's talk about the combat. Original Resident Evil 4, if you want to shoot, you have to stand still. Weird caveat, right? It was to give you a sense of tension, a defensive trade-off when committing to offense. In the remake, they now are logical and sane individuals, and so they got rid of that absolutely hogwash and nonsense mechanic. Sure, you can move while shooting, but everything is 2 times faster than it was before. Movement is good because it allows for more choices to be made, more things to manage, a deeper well of challenge. It adds choice and response. You can now duck under grabs and parry certain attacks with your knife. The character of Leon is supposed to be this Spec Ops trained, knife-wielding killing machine.
Try using knives next time. Better for close encounters.
But with how ridiculous the knife use was in the original, it was always really hard to feel that. But the remakes got knife thrusts, new combination swings, and parries. I now get the fiction from the gameplay that Leon is a knife-wielding master. Is it ridiculous to parry a chainsaw with a knife? Absolutely. But it works. It's pretty fun. The gun shooting feels great. The kicking and suplexing animations feel great. When you get a combination of gameplay interactions stacking together on themselves and you execute it all flawlessly, it is absolutely satisfying. The game is difficult but fair. You've got strong abilities, and the game gives the enemies strong abilities also. A lot of enemies have just straight up one-hit kill moves. Mistime a chainsaw parry? Dead! Don't respond to getting grabbed fast enough? Dead! Don't get out of the way of a munch munch crunch crunch cockroach snake in time? Hopefully you don't need a head to live, because you don't have one anymore. The threat of imminent death being around every corner adds to the tension and horror, but you have tools to avoid these one-hit kill moves, so it doesn't feel like you're getting cheated. There are choices now, biggest one being the option to swap weapons. That's right, the original Resident Evil 4, you had to open up your menu and pick your gun out of your inventory case to equip it. Old Resident Evil 4 really felt like it boiled down frequently to shoot the head, kick the man, and repeat. Ad infinitum! But now you're managing split-second gun choices, target prioritization, Ashley's position, your own position, on a much deeper level because you've got more freedom. This fun fact about life, freedom equals opportunity. And that works in this video game scenario as well. The more freedom you have, the more opportunity to express skill, to express fear, to express combat efficiency. All of it is increased because of the increased movement. I love the scarcity of ammunition. It makes you rely on all your weapons. Now, instead of just a favorite gun, each gun has a job, and you have to consider each bullet. Movement is better for you, but better for enemies too. Gun options are better for you, but there are just more and better AI enemies. The reactionary animations of the enemies in the game is excellent. The game is relatively slow and close, and so the enemies have to have really tight animations to keep you in the experience, and they absolutely do. There are choices and options, it's visceral, the animations are excellent, the combat is great. I'm a big-time characters guy. I love character writing. In the previous game, the characters were more caricatures than characters.
I see that the president's equipped his daughter with ballistics, too.
But they aren't just static tropes in this version of the game. Ashley, in particular, experiences a lot of growth. She starts out scared and incapable. There's a moment where the parasite inside of her is controlling her actions, and she tries to knife Leon. She thinks she's a freak and he needs to stay away.
Wait!
Stay back. It might hurt you again.
He consoles her and lets her know they're in it together.
You gotta keep moving forward. We will beat this.
Her, I can't do it,
I don't know if I can.
You can.
turns into, yeah, I think so.
Can you make it down? I can catch you.
Yeah, I think so.
Then at the end, as Leon is passing out, she operates the machine to save him.
I'm right here. I thought you were gonna die.
Okay. You did this.
Yeah. Yeah, I did this.
She's casting aside her fear to take action. There's not even a hint of this in the original. Not even a whiff of this. 0% character growth. One of my favorite moments showing off her growth is this one right here in the sewers.
Smells pretty bad. You okay?
Yeah. Before this one killed me, though.
How does that go in the original?
Looks like this is it.
Ugh, it stinks.
Sure does.
No way, Leon.
Way.
Are you out of your mind?
I knew you'd be fine if you landed on your butt.
You...
Yep. Yep. Pretty. Whoa. Ada's arc is better. Krauser's arc is better. Luis's arc is whoa, yeah, better. When he died in the original, it was just sudden and, to be frank, nonsensical. You talk to him 4 times, you don't know what the heck his deal is, then he dies. As he's dying, he tells you he's a researcher for Sadler. In the remake, he has time to develop. Not only do you talk to him more than 4 times, you get a buddy team-up sequence with him. Similar backstory of him being a researcher for Wesker and Las Plagas. But you now get a scene with Ada where you question his loyalty even further. Is he going to sell Leon out? Does he actually care about them escaping? He keeps being enigmatic and hides behind quips. But then he makes his choice and helps Leon fully.
You didn't answer my question. What are you after?
I just want to feel good about myself. Make amends. Or something like that.
He confesses about working for Umbrella before he dies, and he gets some skin in the game. You fight with him and he watches your back. Then after he expresses his true feelings and Leon gives a no-nonsense response,
Helping the two of you doesn't make up for it. I know that. But still, I don't want anyone else to get hurt.
In that case, you better get serious.
Harsh words for a squire.
he dies with these final words.
What?
Louis!
What do you think, Leon? People can change, right?
The facial animation really sells this line. This meant something. This had time to be natural and to breathe. Absolutely and unequivocally better in every possible way. He didn't actually play this game. There is no way he actually played this game and has that opinion.
I cannot think of a single improvement this game has over the original.
This one conversation is better than the entirety of the dialogue in Resident Evil 4 original.
You look like you've got something to say.
I have something to ask you. But I don't think I'll get a straight answer. Raccoon City. You know, after the incident, the world changed. Try to save one person, 100 others die. I guess I changed too.
You? Leon S. Kennedy. You haven't changed. You just think you have.
So here's my question. Have you changed, Ada? Or are you just trying to use me again?
What do you think? We're here. Don't think too hard, handsome. See you later.
Story of my life.
I mean, the game doesn't always win. Some of these side quests don't make any sense. Rats are making this place filthy. It's the rats that are bothering you. You feel that the place will be cleaner if I kill 3 rats. Okay.
Try using knives next time. Better for close encounters.
Also, the puzzles are rude. I play horror games for the tension, for the moment of fear when facing terrifying enemies, then the moment of triumph when you defeat them, for the quiet moments as much as for the loud ones. I play these games for the heart rate increase. I don't play them so I can sit and stare at a puzzle for 5 minutes. What a stupid pace breaker. There has got to be a better way to address pacing. I get that I just had a tense moment with that Iron Maiden, and you want to simmer things down for a bit to keep the pacing from being 100 miles per hour down the freeway, but these puzzles are just donkey dookie. Get them out of it. Get them out. But these donkey dookie puzzles are even worse in the original game. It's just a better game on all fronts. I had such a great time with this game. The frantic nature of combat arenas, the tense feeling of something always being behind you, the horrifyingly grotesque monsters, the tension of one-hit kill deaths, the spectacle of the boss fights, the characters, the combat, even the quietude. Let's end with the beginning. Even if the only part of Resident Evil 4 Remake you played was the opening village scene, it would be worth it. The game goes from a few low-stakes encounters with villagers, then it manhandles you out of the frying pan and face plants you in the fire. These villagers are everywhere. No matter where you go, there is no recourse. You get to this old house for shelter. Then they start putting up ladders to get to you through the windows. A blessed shotgun is mounted on the wall, and it's like water for a drowning man. Limitless villagers. Then the chainsaw man shows up. One wrong move and you're dead. Movement is the only option, staying one step ahead. But the chainsaw man literally tears down part of the building to restrict you even further. There are so many options on how to approach this section, but it feels like all of them lead to death. Then finally, when all seems lost,
Keep coming.
a bell rings, and the villagers stop moving.
Huh?
Then they all walk away and leave you alone. What was once a village absolutely bursting with chaos and death is now a quaint and quiet monument to a simpler life. Resident Evil 4 Original was awesome. Resident Evil 4 Remake is my favorite horror game I've ever played.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Oh, dang it, Leon!